Hey guys, it's SD, your host of the Life Picks Relationship podcast, where people with all sorts of backgrounds, challenges, and life experience show us how they make their relationship extraordinary. Hey guys, we're here today with Sarah Herbsman. How are you?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
Great. You want to tell us a bit about yourself and what you do?
So I am a wife and mother. I am married for 26 years and I have 5 children and 2 of them are married. I just recently married off my son and I have 3 grandchildren and I live in Washington Heights as part of New York City, and I am a relationship coach and I work in property management. I am a coach. It's just part of who I am. It's kind of like been doing it for my family since I was like 10. Yeah, so that's like who I am, and very passionate about personal growth and human development. I'm very fascinated by the neuroscience around that. And
Awesome. Do you want to begin by telling us what makes your relationship extraordinary?
I think is that we take the time to create memories. We've been going away every summer since we're married. We love nature, so we go to different national parks and just seeing the beauty in the world, because we live in the city. So in the city, the world is like, it's just very busy and you just kind of get lost in your day-to-day activities. And going away, like taking time to get away, so like family vacations, but also to places in nature where you can kind of step outside of your world. And it's kind of like what I do in coaching. It's like you step outside of your world and you see your life through a different vantage point. So throughout all the years, we've created really beautiful memories, with each other and with kids, and we just keep our own unique relationship alive, because one day these kids are leaving and it's just going to be us. So we have to make sure that there's an us.
So, is there anything specific you've seen while you were away on a trip and you were able to see your life from a different lens?
So one of the things that I didn't tell you is that I'm also an advanced trainer of the nurtured heart approach.
Really?
And yes, you didn't know that?
Lots about it, yeah.
So yeah, I learned that from a parental necessity in raising my children. I had a friend who described my husband and I as like, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So she's like, he's the king of Mars, you're the queen of Venus, and we have these like 5 different planets of children, with all their challenges and all their different, things that came up in life, like I just felt I didn't have how to do that. So really my children and my family were the impetus to me to get the training as a coach. Things that I was doing intuitively, I just didn't have the tools, and I knew that there were tools out there, but the school wasn't helping me, and nobody knew what to do. And it's like I have to be. My son actually got me a lab coat that says Dr. Mom, and I would go into like the schools and I would go in and I'm telling them the prescription that I need for my kid.
Exactly.
Because I would give the teachers like books ahead of time and like saying, here, this works with my kid. Read it ahead of time so you'll have a great year. I really believe preventative medicine is the best medicine. So when you can shift your thinking and you can shift the way you perceive something, you can actually change your whole experience. So I did this for my children, and I didn't know when we were going on these trips, I wasn't saying, oh, I'm getting outside of my life and I'm going to look at my marriage through a different vantage point. It's just what happens.
Right.
Because you're stepping outside of your world, you're seeing things through new eyes. You're appreciating when you go, there were years we didn't have any money. So what did we do? My father had given us miles. We stayed in like some fancy place. We had gotten a timeshare one year. We stayed in a fancy place. And I was like, well, we can't sustain this fancy experience. So we said, okay, let's go camping. So for like $30, we bought a tent. We went out to some campgrounds. We, brought up sleeping bags and everything. And we had, my only caveat was like, I have to have indoor plumbing. Like that's like my rule.
Like, need a bathroom.
I'll go to any campground, indoor plumbing. I need indoor plumbing. We would go camping for years. We went to all these different places, and there's something extraordinary about sitting out at night and looking at this black sky with these bright shining stars, and each one is just so beautiful. So you see life through a different lens when you get out of the synthetic world. When I work with families and I see them look at things from a different vantage point, it's literally getting out of their, what's the word? It's like there's like a synthetic, like it's just it's like a false reality because they're so stuck in their reality and they have to step out of their reality to look at their reality. You can't get out of the forest when you're only looking at the trees in the forest. You have to get out of the forest and look at it from a different view and see, well, maybe I took a wrong turn here. Maybe I could look at something from a different view. Change your view, you change your world.
Was there any specific trip that while you're looking at your life from the outside, you were able to pinpoint something specific to make your life better?
No, it's really me seeing my husband's greatness, his greatness in his ability to plan. He plans all the trips. So he's very detail oriented. He's very disciplined. He's a fantastic planner. Watching his excitement and seeing the different places and opportunities that we can do. There was one very particularly difficult period of time that we were in, and our family was going through certain struggles and challenges. And we needed something to create a connector for our family to bring us together. We hired he's like a retired Navy SEAL or something, whatever it was, did survival training. So we took the family and had a private survival training experience with this guy, because that's what they do is, it builds, you have to survive together. So you build this, you've used an external circumstance to create a sense of unity. We're very intentional. Both my husband and I are both very intentional people. So, him in his world and me in my world. And for me, like, I consider my primary role is the role that I play as like the COO of this family. Like, the family is a business. If you view your family as a business, you want to see them succeed. But no business succeeds if you don't have somebody leading that business, and you don't evaluate what's working, what's not working. How can we make this better? How can we make this stronger? And this just, was an opportunity for us to lead our family to a kind of relationships that we want them to be connected. So with their diversity, they're still so connected. I would tell them, this is an opportunity for you to learn how to navigate in the world. You're going to go out, and this is your opportunity to learn how to deal with people who think differently, who may act differently, still have that love and acceptance of your own individuality amidst other people who think and operate differently than you. Your family is your testing ground. So, they really, thank God, amazing people. I like them. I don't just love my children. I like them.
How do you describe that difference between like and love?
Love is, it's a natural outgrowth. Like, you're my child, you're an extension of me. So I'll love you because I've given to you. I've given my heart and soul to you. Loving is a verb. It's like you give. So liking is, I think, what they do with that. Like, do I appreciate who you are without it being an extension of me? Loving you, when you love something, you're loving an extension of yourself, because people, hopefully, they have a good, healthy sense of self. They love themselves. So when they give to other things, they invest themselves in other things or other people, other things, they come to love it. A baby, why do you love a baby? Because it's an extension of you, and you give to it and you give to it and you give to it. And it becomes an extension of you, and you come to love it because of how much you've invested in it. But do you always like that baby? No, because that objectively, they're crying, they poop, they do whatever things that they have to do, and you're tired. And when when they're separate from you, do you always like them? Maybe not necessarily, but you always love them. Liking them is just objectively liking who they are separate from you. Do I feel pleasure from your existence, observing who you are in the world? I appreciate, I like, it's something that I see as a positive thing in the world. Yeah. And even if you're doing nothing, just for the fact that you exist.
As a
like
being,
I like a flower, as a being, I like a flower, I don't, because it's pretty, it's just the fact that it exists brings me pleasure.
What's one thing that you always do to make your relationship extra special?
So that is, definitely taking time. And because I'm very sensitive to these things, I'm very sensitive to energy, as you can imagine, with Nurture and Heart. Like, I'm just attuned to the energy of my home and my relationships, and they mean a lot to me. So I pay attention. If something's off, I want to know why. This is massive growth for me, because I used to very people-pleasing martyr, as long as you're happy and it's okay. And then I've grown to realize, like, actually my own personal happiness matters too.
Matters first.
So, a happy wife, happy life. I'm off. I need to communicate that. And I used to be afraid to communicate that. but I've learned to communicate, and it works. It really works to actually, when you know though, but I have faith and belief in my husband. So I trust, we have a very strong trust with each other. I trust that even if it's going to be uncomfortable, when I communicate that I'm hurting, I need to trust that that's going to be heard and cared about. Even in efforts will be made for change, so we can give to each other in the way we need to be loved.
So was it always like that? Such good communication?
No,
What made you able
it wasn't.
to? What tools did you use? How did you get there?
So I really believe my own constant yearning for learning about relationships and what makes them work and what makes them grow. So I've done a lot of self-education around that, read a lot of books. I've engaged in a lot of classes. I learn from everyone and everything. I'm always observing my world. So whether it's other people's world and I learn from them, or it's my own educational things, I have some of my favorite, books and things. Nurtured Heart taught me a lot. Going to the advanced training of Nurtured Heart taught me a ton.
Any specific tool that anyone, even someone who never heard anything about Nurture Heart approach, could do?
The first Nurtured Heart approach training that I went to when I was in a very pained state. I was struggling very much with my family. I was struggling how to reach my kids. I was struggling how to communicate some of their needs to my husband. I was struggling and I was surrounded by negativity and complaining. And, I always, my family knows, like, I have this one allergy. I'm allergic to negativity. And it was infiltrating my own thinking. It was infiltrating my whole world. And my outer world was reflecting that. And everything was it was very debilitating. So going to that Nurtured Heart training was the first time I ever gave myself permission to go away for that week. So I highly encourage people to give themselves permission to get themselves the education that they need. Self-education is very important. To learn that you can, and it's available. It's available everywhere. You could even put on a YouTube. You could, there's a ton of resources available for self-education. But one of the most important things that I came away with from that training was when the leader, Lisa Bravo, came to me and she said, "You have permission not to receive the negativity from your family." I thought that I was responsible to listen to everybody because I'm supposed to be the sounding board for everybody's problems. And she liberated me from feeling responsible to swallow and absorb everybody else's problems. And I learned how to trust them and create a boundary for myself and to empower them to navigate their own challenge.
Yes,
it
yes,
was
yes.
so liberating.
You get freed from their responsibilities and they get freed to be their own person and go figure out their own problems.
Yes, it was fantastic. It was a big turnaround. That was a really big turning point for me as a person.
So how did your family react to that?
It wasn't like, okay, I come home and I create this boundary and everybody's like, okay, oh, we don't have to share anymore. Like it doesn't work like that. But I really believe that you teach people how to treat you. And when you come to respect yourself more, other people come to respect you more. It was like my own personal journey of growth to trust myself and me also giving up control. I'm a recovering control freak. So yeah, it's like I don't have to control everything, and they can learn, and I can be okay with not being the one who's in control.
How's your life different now?
Recently, my mother said to me, "You have grown so much." She's like, the like and love. She says, "I always loved you, but I like you so much more now than I did when you 20 years ago." It was just, I was like, "Oh, thanks, Ma. That's awesome." She said that when I first got married, and this is so true, I was very much a yes person. I really always admired, and more so then, I kind of worshiped too much, my husband, because his qualities of greatness, but because I so wanted his qualities of greatness integrated into myself, I had given him too much, I don't want to say worshiped him, but I just was yesing him too much. And I didn't really trust myself to appreciate my own qualities of greatness and my own values and my own strengths, and to contribute more of myself to that. I've become more connectedly independent.
Yeah. What was the best advice you ever gotten?
To be yourself, to not try to be somebody you're not. Really step into you.
Someone who's never been real and always lived in a costume, how do you suggest they start being real?
Well, they have to really get quiet. I would say that, it was interesting on that first training, that first Nurtured Heart training, there was another guy there who said, prayer is when you talk to God, meditation is when God talks to you. And I think it's important for someone to get in touch with who they really are. If they've been wearing a costume and they've been playing a part in somebody else's play and not really, clear about who they are. What do I want? What do I need? Who do I want to be? On your own, I think it's possible if somebody's willing to sit in solitude and get into the strength of stillness and just journal. Journal and just really try to access what's real for me. How did I feel? How do I want to feel? Who do I want to be? You can create the person you want to be for real and live into that person. That's a choice that you make. A person can live in a costume, but that's also a choice. It's a choice to live in a costume. And you can choose to live into your authentic self by really allowing yourself permission to be honest about who you are and taking responsibility for your happiness.
Yes, that was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode and subscribe to the podcast. Leave a comment below so I can know what you think. And to book your relationship photo shoot, CJE session, or just to hear more about what we do, go to lifepicsrelationships.as.me. I'm waiting.